Can you imagine what life would be like without mail? Well, here's a look at inland post from the 1600s until now.
During the 1600s, under the reign of Charles II, and this was about 1663, that the London General Post Office set up a packet agency in Barbados to handle incoming parcels. The mail came to Barbados by fast vessels called packets, and they were delivered at Bridgetown. Now, citizens in Barbados was responsible for the collection of the items from that office and distributing them throughout the island. Because at that time there was no door-to-door delivery as we have it today. It was not until the 1st of August 1851, after many attempts in relation to having an inland post office, that an act was passed in Parliament, and the inland post office was set up the 15th of April 1852. Because of the inland post office, Barbados needed stamps because you could not use the British stamps in relation to the postage within the island. And in fact, Barbados is the only British West Indian country that never used British stamps within the island. And so we had our first issue of stamps in 1852, and those stamps featured the Britannia. This first stamp bore no value, but the denominations were distinguished with respect to the color. The design on the stamp showed Britannia sitting on some bales and holding the trident in her hand. And in the background, there was this ship with the wings in its sails. It should be noted that those early stamps, the same design was featured for over 30 years. And then the next issue in 1882, which featured the head of Queen Victoria, they came in halfpence, 1 penny, 2 pence, and halfpence. After that, we had the issue in 1892, and those run from 1892 to 1903. And these show the seal of the colony, featuring Queen Victoria in Neptune chariots being drawn by 2 horses, 2 seahorses. The last stamp that we had in 1897 commemorated the Diamond Jubilee, and it featured Queen Victoria, and it used part of it used the same design of the Queen Victoria riding on Neptune. But as we move to the 20th century, we see the stamps featuring a wide range of designs and themes which were significant in this area. The reason that Barbados stamps are so widely sought after on the international market is because our stamps depict the life and culture of Barbados. And unlike some other countries who normally would have a large number of issues per year, Barbados, we only have 4 commemorative issues. And we have been told from persons that just viewing our stamps, it gives them the desire to want to come and see Barbados because it gives a good history of Barbados. Some of the rare stamps and those that are really sought after is the 1860 stamp, because this was the first one that had perforation, because previously the stamps did not have perforation and persons had to use a scissors to separate the stamp. The other stamp would be the 1878 stamp, and this was a 1 penny stamp. And the last stamp that is really sought after is the 1938 stamp showing the seahorse issue.
early 20th century stamps also featured the design of the seal of the colony. They went from having the head of Queen Victoria to George V. After that, they also featured George VI. The difference between the one featuring Queen Victoria and the one featuring the two King Georges was that the horse's head, one of the horse's head was turned backward. Victoria's horse's head always faced forward. During the years 1902 to 1910, there were 6 stamp issues produced during the reign of King Edward VII. The first one was a reprint of the seal of the colony featuring a different watermark. The war-tax stamps were produced to commemorate the ending of World War I, and these stamps too were produced during the reign of King George V. At that time, Barbados was still a colony of Britain, and so the funds from these stamps were used to help in the war effort. There was a victory stamp produced during the years 1920 to 21, and that was to celebrate the end of the war. Postage due stamps are stamps affixed to mail to ensure that we get the required postage. The postage due is paid either by the person who sends the mail or the receiver. Postage due stamps, they're still collected by philatelists today, but they're no longer used. But at that time, they would have been printed at different times over a 40-year span. That victory issue, the 1946 issue, was done to commemorate the ending of the Second World War. We produce 2 categories of stamps, commemorative and definitive issues. The commemorative issues are done to commemorate a happening, an anniversary, to celebrate some type of event. The themes for commemorative issues are selected now by, we have our stamp committee. Those themes come from various suggestions from members of the public, from organizations, service clubs, churches, schools, somebody who might have what they deem an important event coming up, and so they want to mark it with a stamp issue. After we get these themes, then the stamp committee meets, and 4 themes for each year are selected. Those meetings are held on a 2-year basis. Then we have definitive issues. A definitive issue is produced every 5 years, and these are done to serve the postage needs of the country. So it's a fairly large issue. It usually carries about 15 or 16 stamps, and this is where we will sell day to day for those persons, businesses, individuals who are buying stamps for their postage needs. Stamps featuring anniversaries are always done as commemorative issues, and these are just examples of some of what can be done. So persons who are celebrating an anniversary might contact us. They want to have their anniversary commemorated via a stamp issue, and we would produce that if that one is selected by the committee. Commemorative stamps fall under various categories. So we have the anniversaries we would have done for Parliament. We do animals, flora, fauna, we do birds, we've done royalty, we've done sports. All these fall under the heading of commemorative and will be done from year to year as determined by the committee. Independence, our first independence issue was actually done in 1966, and that was called the Attainment of Independence. After that, we would have done one in 1967 for the first anniversary of independence. And then the 10th anniversary was commemorated, the 21st anniversary was commemorated, and the 35th anniversary of independence was commemorated. Organizations can be anyone. We would have featured organizations like the Organization of American States. We would have done the World Health Organization. We would have done PAHO. We would have done UNESCO. These are some of the persons who would have indicated that they want to celebrate what they have achieved within their organization with a stamp issue. Centenaries usually for persons who want to celebrate their 100 years in a big way, and some that are mentioned would have been the centenary of Barbados stamps, and that one was produced to commemorate the first stamp issue, which was done in 1852. So this centenary would have appeared in 1952. We would have done centenaries for the International Telecommunications Union, ITU, the centenary of the Harbor Police, and that would have been a while ago because the Harbor Police are no longer in existence. And Samuel Jackman Prescott, his death also was commemorated with a centenary stamp. Right now we are in the process of producing another centenary, and that one will be for the Panama Canal. Sports also features heavily in stamp production. Cricket is a huge one. We would have done cricket in terms of World Cup Cricket 2007. But before that, we would have featured World Cup Cricket of August 1976. There was the World Table Tennis Tournament. We would have done over the years golf, World Cup Football, that one is called FIFA, and we would have done Olympic Games as well under our sports category. Culture is important to us here at the Bureau, and many persons sometimes request stamps featuring culture. Cropover Festival, that one was done in 1975, and we would have done the Caribbean Festival of Creative Arts in August 1981. Our most recent parliamentary issue would have been to commemorate the 375th anniversary of Parliament. The 350th anniversary of Parliament would have been done as well, and the parliamentary conference, they were featured 25 years ago. Pre-independence issues are those that would have been done before we reached independence in 1966, and that would have covered a range of themes from the anniversaries, like we said before, the organizations, we would have done sports. The themes are repeated. What we do, we always do the research so that even though we repeat a theme, we always focus on a different slant, and we feature different images as well. So the research is very important when we're doing anniversaries, because we need to ensure that we are not being too repetitive. Post-independence stamps, this is the part that we're in. And again, with the commemorative, we have to do the research. What would have been relevant for an organization or for the information that we would have gotten for an anniversary sometime before would have improved, increased. There might have been changes within. So the post-independence stamps, even though they carry the same theme, again, those are going to be different. The Panama issue will feature 5 stamps. We're in the process of getting that one ready. That's going to be released on August the 15th, 2014. And we hope that everyone will be on the lookout for it and buy it, because the Panama issue is very important in terms of the history of the Barbadians who would have gone to Panama all those years ago to improve their socio-economic standing. And that one right now is what we're working on. And there will also be a first day cover. The issues were selected from some images that we would have received from the museum in Panama, and really I would have liked to feature more than 5 because there's so many images and they're so interesting, and the Panama issue is going to be so important to us Barbadians. But for a commemorative stamp issue, the most we usually feature is 4 or 5. So we try to select the 5 that we think best would tell the story of the Panama migration.